Hello and welcome to News Now. I'm your host, Taylor Inman. We're going over the week's biggest headlines for Northwest Montana. State wildlife officials are looking to loosen regulations and increase quotas on wolf hunting and trapping for the 2025-2026 season. Among the potential changes is a 50% increase to both the statewide harvest quota and individual bag limits, which Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Park officials say will help the agency meet its obligation to decrease wolf numbers to a sustainable level. About 1,091 wolves are thought to roam the Treasure State, including some 500 in Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Region 1, which includes all or most of Flathead, Lake, Lincoln, and Sanders counties. Both estimates fall in line with the department's previous reports, suggesting that the state and regional wolf populations have varied very little since 2011, when Montana's packs were officially removed from the Endangered Species Act. For some lawmakers, those consistent population numbers are a sign that state wildlife managers have failed. Representative Lucas Schubert, a Republican from Kalispell, said, quote, "The wolf population is far too high, significantly too high," during a meeting of House Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Committee earlier this year. Schubert was one of 4 lawmakers to introduce a bill during the 2025 legislative session aimed at revising harvest regulations on wolves. Only one measure requiring wildlife officials to implement region-specific management techniques and allowing the use of infrared and thermal imagery scopes while hunting wolves ultimately passed. Data collected by the University of Montana and Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks suggests that the sentiments of state lawmakers may not reflect wider perspectives on wolf management. In a 2023 survey of nearly 3,500 Montana residents, researchers found that a large majority of general residents are now tolerant or very tolerant of wolves on the Montana landscape. The results also suggested that the general population's tolerance for wolf hunting and trapping is on the decline. Wolf license holders, meanwhile, were much more likely to express tolerance for wolf hunting and trapping and much less likely to express tolerance for wolves. Such divergent opinions make the job of wildlife managers especially difficult, as the former lead wolf biologist for Yellowstone National Park, Doug Smith, explained to the House Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Committee earlier this year. Smith said there are 2 population levels for wildlife. One is biological carrying capacity and the other is social carrying capacity. One is what the landscape can support and the other is what people are willing to tolerate. And wolves in North America are mostly managed by social carrying capacity. If the Montana Fish and Wildlife Commission approves the agency's plan, the state harvest quota for wolves would increase from 334 wolves during the 2024-2025 season to 500 wolves for the 2025-2026 season. No regional quotas have been proposed, differing from the recent norm for wolf management. Instead, the department is proposing changes to the bag limit for hunters and trappers. Since 2021, hunters and trappers have been able to harvest 10 wolves each season for a total potential harvest of 20 animals per person. While the trappers can meet their bag limit under a single license, hunters were required to purchase a separate license for each wolf they harvest. Under the suggested regulations, both hunters and trappers would now be able to harvest 15 wolves under a single license, as long as 5 of those animals were harvested in Regions 1 or 2. The governor-appointed Montana Fish and Wildlife Commission will vote on whether to accept the agency's proposals on August 21st. Public comments on the proposal will be accepted through August 4th. The Montana legislature voted to override Governor Gianforte's veto of a bill that would have used state funds to reimburse counties some of the cost of holding inmates in local detention facilities while awaiting mental health evaluations or treatments. House Bill 643, brought by Representative Tracy Sharp, a Republican from Polson, was seen by many as a stopgap measure to address rising costs to counties that have seen increased mental health issues arriving in civil and criminal cases. The law provides a one-time appropriation of $6 million for the Department of Public Health and Human Services to reimburse counties for holding individuals awaiting an evaluation or have been committed to the Department for Public Health and Human Services and are awaiting an open bed at a mental health facility. The reimbursement rate from the state agency would be $133.88 per day in fiscal year 2026. Gianforte vetoed the bill, citing its cost to Montana taxpayers and lack of long-term solution. He wrote in his veto letter that the issue requires a permanent comprehensive solution, but House Bill 643 only applies an expensive Band-Aid. But the legislature, which voted overwhelmingly 99-1 and 48-2 in the House and Senate respectively during the session, disagreed with the governor. A veto override poll sent to lawmakers closed on July 14th with 67 representatives and 34 senators voting for the legislation, the exact number required to undo the veto. Sharp told the Daily Montanan the bipartisan bill had support across the entire state and was intended to help all of the counties dealing with the issue of having to hold people for the Department of Public Health and Human Services. Sharp said commissioners from various counties had approached him before the legislative session and pointed out that the state makes similar reimbursements through the Department of Corrections if there is a waiting list to get into a state-run prison, but not for mental health services. According to the bill's fiscal note, the Department for Public Health and Human Services said the waitlist for individuals who need agency evaluations or beds at state facilities averages between 100 and 125, a number not projected to decrease in the next few years. Those individuals are held in county detention centers, sometimes for several months. Travis Ainer, the Flathead County attorney, told the Daily Montanan that one inmate currently housed at the county detention center had been sentenced to the Department for Public Health and Human Services custody in mid-October, but had yet to leave the county. In the more than 270 days since his sentencing, the county would have been owed more than $37,000 in reimbursements if House Bill 643 were currently in effect. The same inmate had also waited for several months for a Department of Public Health and Human Services evaluation, spending even more time in county jail at the expense of the county. Ainer said that there are several inmates in the county's detention facility awaiting evaluations by the agency, and a couple who have been committed, but have yet to be transported to new facilities. But Ainer and Sharp both acknowledge that while the funding will help counties short-term, it doesn't address the statewide problem of limited facilities for inmates who need mental health services. Sharp told the Daily Montanan that he hopes the interim period will allow for the Department for Public Health and Human Services and lawmakers to gather data that can be used in the next legislative session to determine the best path forward. House Bill 643 is the second piece of legislation lawmakers have successfully voted to override the governor's veto on. The first, House Bill 368, provides funding for the town of Colstrip to pay for access to a water supply if the nearby coal-fired power plants close down. Work to replace the 70-year-old Sportsman's Bridge in Bigfork will begin early next month, according to the Montana Department of Transportation. Montana-based Sletton Construction is the contractor for the 2-year project to build the new span over the Flathead River on Montana 82. The state in 2021 determined the current Sportsman's Bridge is too narrow to handle larger vehicles and increased traffic caused by population and tourism growth in the Flathead Valley. The new bridge will have 2 12-foot travel lanes and 2 10-foot shoulders. It'll be built adjacent to the south side of the existing structure. The current bridge will stay open during construction, with minimal traffic impacts expected. The project will also add a left turn lane and right turn slip lane at the intersection of Montana 82 with Oldenburg Road to offer access to the new fishing access site on the west side of the river. New left and right turn lanes at the intersection of Montana 82 with Hanging Rock Drive will also be constructed. Last year, Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks decided to relocate the fishing access site to an 18.22-acre plot of land on the western side of the Flathead River rather than modifying the existing site. The new access site has 11 standard vehicle parking stalls and 39 truck-trailer parking stalls, along with a vault latrine. It also includes a boat ramp capable of accommodating 2 boats at a time. An open house to share details about the upcoming project will be held August 5th at the community room at Bigfork High School, 600 Commerce Street, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. No formal presentation will be made, but information about the project will be displayed and the project team will be available to answer questions. Sletton construction crews will be on site Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. The project is expected to be completed in 2027. Thanks for joining us. News Now is a podcast from the Daily Interlake. We're proud to be the largest independent newsroom in Montana and the longest continuously published newspaper in the region. Today's stories were written by Daily Montanan reporter Micah Drew and Daily Interlake regional editor Matt Baldwin and reporter Haley Smalley. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode of the pod. Everybody stay safe and have a great week. Thanks to our sponsor, Lawrence Auto Repair at 1309 U.S. Highway 2 in Kalispell. Most consistently rated 5-star shop serving the Kalispell area. Visit lawrenceauto.com.